What's going on, guys? It's Jacob from Topside MMA, and today I'm going to go over the UFC 319 weigh-ins, face-offs, give you my tips, give you my thoughts, and let you guys know everything you need to know for UFC 319. Let's get right into it. First up, we have Alibi Idiris versus Joseph Morales. Now, I know I'm probably not saying this name right. Let me get my little face out of the way so you guys can see the weights. Boom, there we go. Now, with these guys, I can't really say the weigh-ins really affected my opinion all that much. You know, I can't say anything really stood out to me in terms of which guy was looking better than the other. As we can see, Idiris, he had to bring in the tent to make weight, but he ended up making weight, so I can't really hold that against him. It's not really a big deal to me. Both of these guys came in at 126 pounds. This picture right here was the two of them yesterday before, or I think it was earlier today. Yeah, it was earlier today, I mean, before they had to do, this was the official weigh-in they had to do, and then this was when they did the ceremonial, face-off ceremonial weigh-in later in the day that we just saw a couple, like an hour or two ago. So yeah, both these guys look fine. You know, there wasn't really a huge difference between the two. They both seemed to have a decent weight cut. They seemed fine. They didn't seem drained or anything like that. You know, and as we can see in the ceremonials too, they both seemed fine. They both seemed ready to go. Morales pumped up. Idiris had the cool head thing on. I don't know what part of the culture it's from or what that is, but cool look for him to say the least. Face off, you know, they both seem ready to go. They both seem locked in. I like both of these guys. You know, they seem to be handling this well. They seem to take this. I know it's a short notice fight coming up, so you know it's good to see them both looking good for this fight. Next up, we got Karine Silva versus Dione Barboza. Both of these girls came in weight. We had Karine Silva at 125, Dione Barboza at 125 and a half. Now, Dione Barboza, she had to get the tent in to make up, shed off that last half pound, I think, or however much she was over originally, but she ended up making weight, so it was totally fine. She did it in one attempt, like it wasn't like she had to come back and make it, so totally fine having the tent. She didn't look fine, or she didn't look affected by it in a bad way. They both had decent weight cuts. I think Dione Barboza looked like she had the great weight cut compared to Karine Silva, you know. Neither of them seemed bad. You know, Karine Silva definitely had the harder weight cut, it seems. Her face seems definitely more drained, more seems like it's taking the life out of her eyes a little bit. So I think she definitely had the harder end of that, which I said, like, it's interesting because she had the full camp where Dione Barboza stepping up on short notice. A little interesting, but they both look fine. You know, when they had the ceremonial weigh-ins, kind of did Karine Silva dirty here, you know, that not the most flattering picture, but, you know, she looked a little bit drained. Not terrible, though, you know, not the worst we've ever seen, but considering Dione Barboza is stepping up on short notice, I think she looked a hell of a lot better compared to Karine Silva. Made me a little bit more confident in her this week, you know, just because considering she stepped up on short notice, I was a little bit concerned how she was going to take the weight cut, how she was going to look on the scales, so seeing her look so well, so confident, makes me even more confident in her this week as a pick. So this was them at the face-offs. You know, they both seemed decent, but Dione Barboza definitely had the edge. I think she won this face-off personally. I think she seemed more intense. She seemed more cool, more confident, more collected. And it could be the Karine Silva, you know, maybe she is thinking about the fast fight they had, you know, where she took a loss to Dione Barboza the first time they fought. Maybe that's weighing in the back of her head. Maybe it's just the weight cut that was hard, you know. It could be a variety of different things, but I think Dione Barboza won this face-off. I think she had looked better. So, like I said, it makes me even more confident in her this week. Now, we got Bryan Battle versus Nursulton Ruziboev. This fight was called off. Bryan Battle's fat ass couldn't make the weight. Missed it completely at 190 pounds on the dot weighing in when he had to be 185. Absolutely crazy. Huge miss. I don't know what the hell Bryan Battle is doing. He missed weight at welterweight, bullied Randy Brown, hugged him to a decision win. He missed by like 5 pounds, I think, too. And now he does the same thing up at middleweight. It's honestly unexcusable at this point. What the hell do you do with him? Who knows? As we can see, he was trying to make weight for whatever reason. He knew it wasn't even going to be close. So I don't know why he was trying to bring the tent out to try and make it seem like he was trying. Like, dude, you missed by like 4+ pounds. Bringing the tent and taking your pants off is not going to do anything. You're not making weight. So I don't even get what's the point at that point. I don't blame Nursulton Ruziboev for not wanting to fight him. You know, this is the second time he's done it by such a huge weight miss. You know, it's 2 times in a row. It's hard to forgive that. So Bryan Battle, get ready to go to the PFL. I don't know if he's going to have a career in the UFC much longer. It's kind of crazy how he's done this over and over and over again, but here we are with a canceled fight with Bryan Battle. So next up, we got Edson Barboza versus Drakkar Klose. Now, both of these guys seem to have a decent weight cut. Edson Barboza seemed a hell of a lot better, though, honestly. He's more shredded, he's more lean, he seemed more confident. Drakkar Klose didn't really give me any good vibes. Like, he just kind of seemed like he was going through the motions almost, where you don't like to see that, especially in older guys. Whereas Edson Barboza, he seemed like he's ready to go. He seems dialed in. He seems locked in. I was going through his social media. He was posting stuff like really like seemed like he's mentally locked in for this fight. So made me even more confident in Edson Barboza this week. I tried to get a damn picture of them at the ceremonial weigh-ins with Drakkar Klose, but the camera angles just, they didn't even capture like his frontward facing thing. They just had side of like his back. So I was like, I don't even need to include that. This is how Edson Barboza looked at the ceremonial weigh-ins a little bit later. This was their face-off too. You know, it's just something in Drakkar's eyes. He just has this look of like, you could say it's calm, but I don't know. It just seems like not as, it doesn't give me confidence. You know, it seems like worried almost, hesitant. I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. Whereas Edson Barboza, he seems dialed. He seems ready to go, ready to rumble. So this made me even more confident in Edson Barboza. I think he should be able to get the job done on Saturday. Now, next up, we got Chase Hooper versus Alexander Hernandez. I can't say a whole lot really changed my opinion with these weigh-ins. You know, I mean, Chase Hooper and Alexander Hernandez, they both looked pretty good. They both seemed like they had a pretty fairly good weight cut. Chase Hooper looks a little bit drained on here, but not so much to the point where I'm like worried about him or concerned in any way. Alexander Hernandez maybe had the slightly better weight cut of the two. He's a beast. He looks really good on the scales, but can't say it affects my opinion one way or the other. This was them at the ceremonial weigh-ins. They both weighed in, or Chase Hooper at 155, Alexander at 156, so they both made weight. They both seemed fine too. I think Chase Hooper looked better later on at the ceremonial weigh-ins. He didn't seem as drawn in with his face. You know, you can see in here, he looks a little bit more sucked in and drained, whereas later on we were able to see, you know, he filled up a little bit. And they both seem fine. You know, this doesn't really affect my opinion too much, although when we get to the face-offs, you know, we can see Chase Hooper is a big dude. You know, I didn't know he was going to look this much bigger, and I feel like he's starting to fill out too. Yeah, Hernandez is definitely more wide, and he's definitely more jacked, but he's shorter, so it makes sense at the distribution there. I think Chase Hooper should be able to get the job done here. I like the Chase Hooper hype train. I'm getting behind it. I think Chase Hooper is going to be something special, and I think this is a great opportunity for him where he's going against the guy who technically isn't superior to him in any place. You know, Chase Hooper should be able to get this done wherever this fight takes place. He's going to keep looking better and better with every fight, so I like Chase Hooper, Mr. Gooner. Like I said, Chase Hooper fight week, baby. Chase Hooper's up. You know, I think Chase Hooper gets it done. Shout out to the certified Gooner. Now, if you guys like the content, please consider subscribing. We just hit 500 subscribers, so thank you guys so much. I just wanted to put it in here. I'm trying to build the subscriber base up, so if you guys like what you're seeing, please drop your boy a follow. It's greatly appreciated. Now, next up, we got Jessica Andrade versus Loopy Godinez. This is where it gets interesting. I'm a bit concerned with Loopy in this one. I picked Loopy originally, and I was more confident in her, but we're going to get into this one. This was interesting. Now, this was Jessica Andrade on the scales. As you can see, she's dialed, man. Her eyes, these are not the eyes of someone who doesn't care anymore, man. She looks like a pit bull, like a mad pit bull ready to just unleash the tank, you know? I mean, like, this was scary. This was genuinely scary. And when we saw her, she looks locked in. You know, when she finally got the tent off, she made weight. Both these girls, they both made weight. Jessica Andrade at 116, Loopy Godinez at 115. Andrade looks dialed in, man. Fresh haircut. She looks in shape. She looks ripped. She looks confident. She looks like her old self. She looked damn good on these scales. And it has me worried, man, because if Jessica Andrade is fully locked in and she's not going to quit and she's not in a bad space mentally, she is a problem. She is a problem, especially dropping down. I was talking to one of you guys in the comments about this. I was like, oh my goodness, like that's a good point. You know, when she's dropping down, she's not beating or she's not losing to worse girls. You know, I'm like, I had to go back and look through her history. I was like, yeah, I mean, this makes me even less confident. So this was them at the ceremonial weigh-ins later on. You can see they both look good, about the same. You know, they both had good weight cuts. Jessica Andrade, man, she looks ready to go, though, man. She doesn't seem like she's just going through the motions anymore. She seems dialed. She seems ready to go. She seems like she wants to kick some ass. This was them at the face-offs. You know, I don't know. If anything, I think Andrade won this face-off. You know, Loopy kind of has this slightly concerned, slightly afraid look to her. Kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like she was definitely on the worser end of this face-off. Andrade seemed completely locked in, completely ready to go. Not a speck of doubt in her mind from this face-off. So I think she won the face-off. I think she looked she looks damn good. So, I mean, I'm very concerned. And this was, dude, the eyes, man. She seems ready to go. She was scary, you know. I think she was scaring everyone there. So this one has me a bit worried in terms of my confidence. But anyway, next up, we got GM3 versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. Now, both of these guys had decent weight cuts, but GM3 really didn't. He had the worst one of the two, you know. I think, honestly, Michal Oleksiejczuk isn't that bad. I think if anyone had the bad one, it was GM3. You know, he seems sucked in. He seems dry. He seems really kind of in the face. He just seems like worn out and washed up. Like, was not a good look to see him on the scales like this. This was the first time they weighed in when they had to make weight, so it was a little bit worse than later on, but still did not look like he had a great weight cut. He's getting older at almost 37, 38, so not a great sign for me. It made me a little bit more confident in Michal Oleksiejczuk here. Now, this was them later on at the ceremonial weigh-ins, and you could see, you know, GM3 looked a little bit better. To go back and forth, I mean, he looks really drained here, but he looked a little bit better here. You know, one more time, you know, going back and forth. But Michal Oleksiejczuk, you know, the face paint's pretty cool. He seemed pretty locked in. These guys both seemed better here than before. Obviously, they both have to cut weight. You know, didn't seem like neither of them had a great time, but I don't know. Michal definitely seemed like he had the better time in terms of the weight cut. This was the face-off. You know, I can't say either guy looked bad. GM3 definitely looked a little bit, I don't want to say hesitant, but maybe like slower. I don't know. He just seemed a little loopy, maybe? I don't know the right word. He just seemed not fully like his full self. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Where Michal Oleksiejczuk definitely seemed completely dialed, completely focused, laser focused, locked in, whatever you want to call it. He definitely seemed more there. So it makes me a little bit more confident in Michal Oleksiejczuk this weekend. Now, next up, we have Baysangur Susurkaev versus Eric Nolan. The more I've looked into this one, the more I feel bad for Eric Nolan, and the more confident I get in Susurkaev. But first off, we'll just talk about the weigh-ins here. So this was the first time they had to make weight. Eric Nolan looked really good. You know, at 183 pounds, he's not even at the limit. He looked pretty damn good. He looks jacked, muscular, strong. Whereas Baysangur Susurkaev, definitely the softer of the two. You know, not as muscular, you know, not as big, not as strong. You can definitely tell Eric Nolan is the stronger guy of the two. But it's just the weight difference, you know. Baysangur is maxing out the 186 limit, whereas Eric Nolan at 183 coming in under, it's like, interesting, you know. Definitely surprised me a little bit here. This is how they looked later on. You know, not a huge difference between the two. You know, they both seem ready to go. They seem locked in. You know what I mean? I can't say between the two. Not a huge difference. They both seem fine. I guess Baysangur did have the glasses on, so maybe he was sucking out his face a little bit, but from his body, doesn't look like it all that much, so I gotta say, this was the face-off too. This was pretty interesting, you know. Baysangur straight up pulled his head in, you know, like little Brodum or big Brodum. Interesting. I guess he's trying to make a storm, you know, make some hype, generate some buzz for this fight. Interesting move, but the thing that I forgot about this fight, or I didn't realize at first, was that Eric Nolan is going to be actually stepping up a weight class for this. So I'm like, damn, that's why he didn't make the weight. You know, he's stepping up a weight class on like 2 days' notice. I feel bad for Eric Nolan because he has to go against a killer like Baysangur Susurkaev, who has real future in the UFC. So that's what we got. POV, you have to fight Khamzat 2.0 up a weight class and on 2 days' notice. I feel bad for Eric Nolan, man. I feel bad for him. I feel like he's gonna face some problems in this fight, so it makes me a little bit more confident in Baysangur. So next up, we got Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. Now, both of these guys looked really good in the weigh-ins, and if anything, you know, I don't want to say Tim Elliott looked better, because I'm not going to say that, but Tim Elliott looked better than I thought he would for his age, all the injuries, all the ups and downs he's gone through. Tim Elliott has proven he can still do it, still kick some ass. This is how these guys weighed in for the first time when they had to make weight. He looked really good here. As you can see here, Kai Asakura, he needed the tent to end up making the weight, but seemed fine. You know, he ended up making it. This is the same weigh-in, you know, the first time they had to weigh in. Both guys looked pretty damn good, so can't say it influenced my decisions a whole lot, you know, between the confidence of the two. Yeah, and this was when they had the weigh-in the second time. This was the ceremonial weigh-ins. Not a whole lot really changes for me. You know, I still am taking Kai Asakura, but Tim Elliott, man, he looks good for his age, and he seems locked in. He seems dialed. He seems focused. Both of these guys look jacked, ready to go, so it's going to be interesting. And they both maxed out the weight, 126. They both made it, so this was the face-off between the two. And yeah, I mean, they both seem ready to go. They seem ready to scrap. Both these guys, I think they're going to put on a banger of a performance. I'm excited for this one. Will Tim Elliott put on the Crafty Vet Masterclass? Who knows? I don't quite think so, but it wouldn't blow my mind if he did. But anyway, next up, we got Jared Cannonier versus Michael Page. This one was depressing, man. This was like your parents getting divorced, like I said in my last video. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. I love both of these guys. They've been amazing fighters. Super fun to watch both of these guys. They've put on wars. They've been great guys to watch throughout the years. So this one sucks to see. Now, in terms of the weigh-ins, though, they both looked good on the first time making weight. You know, it was funny. Michael Page, he had to take the tent here at first. Yeah, I was making sure I included that. He had to take the tent out to make weight, and he was saying, like, the scales were off because he's like, I'm a professional. I never miss weight. And it's kind of funny he said that because so many people needed the tent. They needed it to make weight, so maybe the scale was off a little bit. We'll talk about that later on with the main event, too. The scales were a little bit weird this time, but with these guys, they both made weight. Both look good. Cannonier kind of has the like 100-yard or 100-yard stare a little bit in this one, but other than that, you can't really say a whole lot. He still looks great. He looks like physically super strong, super lean, shredded, ready to go. So can't really say a whole lot about either guy. This was later on at the ceremonials, and I gotta say, man, Jared Cannonier is a beast, man. He is just pure muscle, pure power. That dude is still kicking ass at his age. It's super impressive. You gotta respect the man. But MVP looks great too. You know, he's never been super muscular anyway. So both of these guys looked how I was expecting them to look. You know, they both make weight. They're both great professionals. Can't say I'm surprised with anything that came out here. You know, they both looked exactly how I thought they would. And for that reason, you know, I can't really say it affects my opinions all that much in terms of this one. You know, I think the face-offs were pretty decent. You know, MVP was doing his normal, usual fashion. You know, he's a showman. You know, he likes to entertain. He likes to put on. So, and Jared Cannonier did not seem to be having any of it. It was pretty funny. But, I mean, I'm a little bit concerned because Jared Cannonier is so locked in for this, man. He seems like pissed off. Not necessarily at MVP, but like the UFC in general. And people are like making comments about his age and the fights that he has to pick and his relationship with the UFC, man. Jared Cannonier is pissed off. And who knows, you know, he might put on a masterclass. You know, I mean, you don't want to fight a guy who's mad like this. He does not look content. So, angry Jared Cannonier might very well be a problem, but I still think MVP should be fast enough, slick enough on the feet. He should have the better striking. He should be able to get it done, but they don't call him the Killer Gorilla for nothing, so anything could happen there. But next up, we got Geoff Neal versus Carlos Prates. Now, both of these guys looked good on the scales. This was the first time they had to make weight. Can't really say a whole lot about this one. Not a whole lot was sticking out to me. They both look fine. They both seem to have a decent weight cut. I think Geoff Neal, yeah, he needed the tent. This is like happened all the time. Like, that's why I think the scales, MVP saying the scales were off could have definitely been right, because all these guys needed the tent, and it's like they barely missed it. You know, it's like all these guys who missed, they all just barely missed it, got the tent, then made it. So maybe there was the issue with the scale, who knows. But either way, these guys both made weight. Geoff Neal came in at 171, Carlos Prates at 170, so can't really have any concern there. They both look fine. This was them at the ceremonial weigh-ins. They both look great. You know, they both seem to have a great weight cut. They seem fine. They seem totally replenished, fine, you know, back to normal. So yeah, I can't say this really changes my opinions. It doesn't really change my outlook on this fight at all. They both seem fine. The one thing that did kind of lean me a little bit towards Prates here was the face-off. I think Carlos Prates did win the face-off, honestly. He seemed that growl, that like snarl look. That, I mean, that shit's scary. I don't blame Geoff Neal for looking a little intimidated with that, but because I definitely would be. But, you know, I think Carlos Prates did edge out the face-off. You know, I think Geoff Neal is a tough dude, and I'm not saying he was scared or anything, but he definitely didn't seem to match the level of ferocity and intensity as Carlos Prates. He definitely seemed like the one who was a bit more timid and on the step back, where Carlos Prates was definitely getting in his face and making it ugly. So it slightly makes me a tad, maybe just like a little bit more confident in Carlos Prates, but you can't really have a whole lot of weight behind just a face-off. But like I said, I think Carlos Prates just inched a little bit ahead here, but that does it for this one. Next up, we got Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Now, this weigh-in was interesting because Aaron Pico looks insanely good on the scales, man. I mean, he definitely probably had a rough cut. He didn't show it through how he looked, but, you know, for being that lean and that shredded, man, that cannot be easy. Lerone Murphy came in at 146. He looked totally fine. Aaron Pico at 145. Both of these guys looked fine. They both made weight. But you can tell these guys are lean, they're shredded, they're jacked. These cuts cannot be that easy on them. Now, this was them at the ceremonial weigh-ins. We saw they both look really good, too. Ron Murphy had the glasses on at first, but he took them off later. Dude, Aaron Pico's a specimen, man. He could be a bodybuilder if he wasn't doing MMA. And I'm a little bit, I don't know. You can't just like judge someone's looks in terms of how they're going to fight. I mean, you look at someone like DC and you're like, well, he's not a bodybuilder, but he still kicks ass, or at least he used to. So looks obviously aren't everything, but I'm like, damn, dude, Aaron Pico is a specimen. He looks jacked. So, and especially with his solid wrestling base, I'm like, damn, all that size and strength definitely could help him in this fight. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to beat Lerone Murphy. I constantly have faded Lerone Murphy throughout the years, and I've been burned. I've always been burned. Obviously, he's undefeated. So I can't pick against Lerone Murphy again. Oh my goodness. This was the face-off between the two. You know, it was pretty intense. These guys were really eyeing each other down. I don't think either guy won or lost the face-off, though. You know, I think it was dead even. Both of these guys completely dialed, completely locked in, laser focused. I don't see a shred of doubt or hesitancy from either guy. I think this was like about as dead even as a draw of a face-off could be. You know, I think they both looked ready to go. This should be a war, and this is going to be a banger of a fight. I hope so, at least. Now, finally, for the main event of the night, we got DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev. Now, DDP looked a little bit rough in terms of the first weigh-ins, I mean. But when you actually watch the video and you see him, you know, he looks totally fine. I think he just looks a little rough. Maybe this screenshot I had just did him dirty, but he seemed totally fine. He didn't seem like he had any issues at all. Same with Khamzat. Honestly, he seemed fine. He seemed worse at the press conference before than actually at the actual weigh-ins, you know. But it was weird. You know, Khamzat coming in at 183 was very weird, which made me a little like, something going on with the scales here, just because at the press conference the night before, you know, he was chewing gum. He seemed really kind of like, I don't want to say out of it, but you could tell the weight cut was not easy for him. You know, if you have to chew gum at the press conference, you know, I don't think it's an anxiety thing for Khamzat. You know, I feel like it was probably more of a hunger, drain, like energy thing for him. You know, he's probably feeling drained from the weight cut. So to see him come in at 183, very surprising, very shocking. It caught me off guard. I didn't think it. Whereas DDP, you know, he made weight, 185, maxed it. So I don't know. This one, it kind of threw me off, the whole 183 thing, especially because everyone else had really weird weight cuts where everyone seemed to be over by just a tad. All the people needed tenths. I don't want to say anything fishy's going on because that's just, there's no proof behind that, but definitely was something I wanted to point out because it was a little weird. This was Khamzat needing the tent too, which is the weird part too. I'm like, why would he need a tent and have to strip down if he's at 183 to make 183? I don't know. It was weird. Rubbed me the wrong way. Didn't really like it. But anyway, guys, if you like this content and you've made it this far, please consider subscribing to your boy. It would mean a lot. I love all the comments, all the support. Thank you guys so much for all of it. But just really quick here, if you guys like the content, please consider subscribing. But anyway, this was the weigh-ins. You know, they looked good. They both seemed fine. You know, the weight cut, I can't say it really visually looked like it had any real major impact on these guys. You know, this was them at the ceremonial weigh-ins after. We can see they both look fine. You know, it's tough with Khamzat. We don't see him without his shirt, so it's hard to see how he's going to look physically. But it's really hard to say that anything's going to come up to make him look different. You know what I mean? Like, we know what Khamzat looks like, and he looked fine on the scale, so I don't think his physical appearance was really going to make a huge difference. You know, seeing him with or without a shirt, it's not really going to make a huge difference for me. DDP looked great. He looked like he filled back in from the earlier weight cut, so this doesn't really give me a ton of lean either way just off of this. Now, the more I've looked into this fight, and we're going to talk about this at the very end with the with the confidence ratings at the end here in a couple minutes, or in a minute, honestly, but we're going to talk about this. But in terms of the weigh-ins themselves, in terms of the face-offs themselves, it didn't really affect me all that much in terms of confidence. Like, this is the face-off. Now, I know it's a little bit blurry because all this shit happened so fast, I could not get a clear screenshot. I was trying to go in and out, play, pause. I couldn't get one, but they got into it a little bit. You know, they were pushing each other around, but not a whole lot really happened. I think this was one more angle I had. Not really a whole lot, just show stuff. I don't know. Like, this doesn't really affect my opinion at all. They both got into each other's faces. Khamzat tried to push him, and they got separated, and that was it. So I can't really say this affected me a whole lot. But now we are going to do the full confidence recap, kind of tell you guys how my confidence level changed throughout all these fights, through the weigh-ins, through a little bit extra research I've done, all of the above. So this is how we had it last time from the last video, the locks and traps video. This is where we left it. But obviously we had lost the battle in Ruziboev fight. So after everything, this is how I'm kind of feeling about all these fights. So first off, we'll start with Andrade versus Godinez. I am a hell of a lot less confident in Loopy to get the job done. I think Jessica Andrade looks absolutely dialed, absolutely locked in. She seems ready to go. She had a good weight cut. She seemed mean and ferocious on the scales. I think she won the face-off. I'm like, everything that I had, every little bit of confidence that I had in Loopy before this in terms of the mental battle, because I feel like this is a fight that is such a mental battle. I feel like Jessica Andrade has had problems where she's not really fully invested in the fight game. She might just be doing it for money. And there's times where Loopy Godinez where she throws fights just with stupid fight IQ decisions. So it's like the mental battle is very important for this. And to see Jessica Andrade, for her, the mental battle where she would lose it would be her, I don't want to say willingness, but like her, I don't know, her level of how involved she is, how much she wants it. Does she actually want to be there? That's the only thing you have to worry about her there. And she seems like she really wants to be here. She seems absolutely dialed, laser focused. So this tanked my confidence in Loopy Godinez in this one. Almost considering a pick flip, but we're just dropping it for now. Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. Slightly lower confidence just because Tim Elliott looks great. He looks in great shape for his age. He's dealt with injuries. I wasn't sure how he was going to look going into this. I can't say it affects it a ton, but it definitely lowers it just a tad, especially considering the huge money line on Asakura. I'm like, if he goes for the wrestling, he seems in shape. He seems fit. His body seems fine. He seems very checked in mentally, so lowers it just a tad, but not a ton. Same with Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Pico looks so jacked and so in shape. There was not a single shred of confidence, or I guess of a confidence problem with him. You know what I mean? Like when they did the face-offs, they seemed laser focused. Aaron Pico, he is adjusting to the big stage about as well as you can be, or so far, or as well as you can. So it just lowered my confidence just a tad. I just wanted to point that out. Not a huge deal, but maybe just a smidge less confident in Lerone Murphy this weekend. And then for GM3 versus Michal Oleksiejczuk, it actually raised my confidence. GM3 is getting older. He didn't really seem like he really wanted to be here. He seemed mentally a little hesitant, a little not shy, but like, I don't know. He just didn't seem as hungry and as in your face. He just seemed like he had a tough weight cut where he seemed drained. Then on the face-offs, he really didn't seem all that confident and kind of like riled up, which I didn't like to see. Whereas Michal Oleksiejczuk, he dealt with the weight cut. He seemed really fired up at weigh-ins. He seemed great at the face-offs. And, I just like where he's going, like, in terms of he knows his holes in his game. That's why he's going to train at the Fighting Nerds to patch these holes in his game. And I think as long as he can keep it on the feet, I don't see GM3 being all that competitive, So, especially with GM3 getting older, too, just seeing him have these tough weight cuts, I'm like, it just gives me less and less confidence because this style is where if he's going to win, he's going to have to take a beating and then come back from behind and win. So someone getting older and older, you don't like to see that, especially with the weigh-ins and all that. Makes me more confident in Michal Oleksiejczuk this weekend. Now, DDP versus Khamzat. I've gotten less and less confident in DDP throughout the week. It's just the more I look into it, I'm like, damn, Khamzat, yeah, the cardio could be a concern, but we just saw him out-wrestle Kamaru Usman, who absolutely dominated Silva, Joaquin Buckley, in the grappling. I'm like, oh my goodness, dude. I'm like, every time, as the minutes go by, as the hours go by, as the days have gone by, I'm just like, damn, you know what? Like, we've seen DDP struggle with the wrestling too. I'm like, against Brunson, I'm like, man, I'm just like, I feel almost like Khamzat doesn't even need to go 0 to 100 with the grappling. I just feel like even if he's pushing 70% pace, we've seen DDP can be taken down, man. I'm like, Khamzat's wrestling is such a high level. I'm just like, oh, I hate this. I hate this fight in terms of the pick, man, because I'm a little bit biased. I do want DDP to win, so I'm like, I can't let that affect my judgment either. So I'm a little bit less confident in this one. but we'll get to that here in a second in terms of my final review and my final rankings. But Edson Barboza versus Drakkar Klose. Drakkar just seems mentally checked out. He doesn't seem great. He didn't look great in the weigh-ins, didn't look great in the face-offs. Edson Barboza seems great. He seems mentally focused, seems mentally locked in, and Drakkar is just kind of soft. You know, he doesn't want to fight high-level competition. That's soft. I don't want to back anyone who's soft. Give me Edson Barboza. I'm more confident in him. He looked great. And I'm more confident in Dione Barbosa, too. She's taken this fight on short notice, and she got to the scales. She looked better than Karine Silva, who had the whole fight camp. And when it got to the face-offs, too, I think she won the face-offs, too, ever so slightly. So, makes me a little bit more confident in her. Not necessarily as much with the face-offs, but more so just with her ability to have a good weight cut and seem great after coming up on short notice. So, it seemed like she handled this perfectly. She seemed great, which boosted my confidence in her. So this is my final rankings. Now everything, or not a whole lot changed. I brought GM3 up a little bit. I brought him to the medium confidences because it made me more confident in Michal Oleksiejczuk. You know, just like seeing GM3 not look great, like I talked about a minute ago, you know, I'm just more confident in Michal Oleksiejczuk. I think he should be able to get it done because the only way GM3 wins is if he lands a takedown. And it's like GM3 is not a great offensive wrestler. He's getting older and older. He's on the back end of his career. Michal Oleksiejczuk is young enough. He's patching the holes. He's working on his game. He's getting better and better. And you know, he has that hungry mindset to go for the win. He wants it. Give me Michal Oleksiejczuk. I'm more confident in him. Then we got Edson Barboza versus Drakkar Klose. I bumped that one up to a medium confidence pick. Drakkar Klose is soft. It's have to do with, one, I think Edson Barboza wants it. He's dialed. He's focused. And it's like they both have, Edson Barboza is definitely probably the better striker, but they both have such defensive vulnerabilities that's what's kind of limited me on this and kind of held me back earlier in the week from having more confidence in Edson Barboza. But when you think about it, you know, the mental battle is half of it, like GSP said, and it's like I think Edson Barboza wants it. Drakkar Klose, he just seems like he doesn't even want to be here anymore. He seems mentally checked out. Edson Barboza still wants it. He's still hungry, and he can still kick some ass, so I'm more confident in him this week. Now, for DDP versus Chimaev, I'm pick flipping. If this ages like milk, I'm going to be pissed because I want DDP to win. You know, I just think he's more active. He'll probably be better for the division. I could see Khamzat winning this, having some illness, and then we don't see him for a year and a half. You hate to see it. I mean, obviously no one wants to see that. I think Khamzat's a fun guy to watch. I like his fights. I love watching him. It's just for him being the champion. It's kind of like, I think he might hold up the division if he becomes champion. Hopefully not. And if he doesn't hold up the division, then awesome. You know, cool for him. But he's shown in the past a ton of canceled fights, a ton of pulling out, visa issues getting to the States. It's just not a great look, you know. But anyway, I'm pick flipping on this one. I'm going back and forth. I just think Khamzat, the striking is going to be decently competitive. We've seen DDP struggle with takedown defense. I'm like, I don't want to pick DDP just because I'm assuming that Khamzat doesn't have the cardio to go all five. Because what I've looked from his recent training, all I've seen is that he's had a super heavy emphasis lately on his cardio, and that's strength and conditioning, you know, like that, more like the cardio aspect of his training as opposed to the raw technical skills. Like, you know what I mean? So if he's really working on his cardio, and if he fixes his cardio and he can go all 5 rounds, I feel like he probably has the wrestling accolades not the accolades, but like the wrestling capabilities to take DDP down. We've seen DDP put in rough spots, and you know, maybe Khamzat thinks he can take him out in a round or two. You know, maybe he just goes all gas, no brakes, goes for him just like he did against Whitaker. I wouldn't be mind blown with that. You know, it's like, I don't know. This pick just feels so awful, man. I hate this pick, but a pick flip to Chimaev for this one. As much as it pains me to do, I'm letting it get to my head. But anyway, Dione Barbosa versus Karine Silva. I moved that up from the trap up to a low confidence pick. I still think it's a trap in the sense of don't put Karine Silva in all of your damn parlays. Don't be surprised if those get busted. I think Dione Barbosa wins this. I wouldn't be completely surprised if she loses. You know, I think it's a very competitive, close fight. I just think Dione Barbosa has the slight edge in the striking to be able to win it. And I think if Karine Silva's not, let's say she does get it to the ground, I don't think she's submitting Dione Barbosa. I don't think she's going to have anything to really hold her down for that long. And so I think if this is on the feet, if it stays in the striking, I think Dione Barbosa is probably going to be the slicker, more accurate striker and can get it done on the scorecards. I do think that fight goes over, though. I don't think either of them get finished. And then finally, I dropped Jessica Andrade versus Loopy Godinez. I dropped that all the way from a medium confidence pick down to my lowest of the low. Dude, Andrade is fucking, she's locked in, man. She is ready to go. She is fully focused, confident. I haven't seen her with that dog in her in a minute. Like, she's cutting weight to a lower weight class. That's where you can tell she really wants to be here. She wants to fight. I'm about to pick flip to Andrade. I am this close to pick flipping to Andrade. I haven't quite done it yet, but I am damn close. I'm considering it. Whereas all these other picks I've already made, none of these other picks are changing. The one I'm kind of just this close on pick flipping is this one. I might pick flip to Andrade, going back and forth. I'll talk about that in my betting breakdown video tomorrow, my final picks. But anyway, guys, that does it. That's the final confidence ranking. I hope you guys like this. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for all the recent love. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't yet. You know, we're trying to get to 1,000 subs. We're reaching there, getting there so fast. You guys are doing awesome. I love all the likes and the comments and letting me know what you guys think, who you guys like, who you don't like. I love interacting with you guys in the comments. So, you know, let me know down below what you want to see, what you like, what you don't like. But yeah, thank you guys so much once again for all the love, all the support, all the feedback. It's been totally awesome. I'm excited for this card, man. I'm really excited for this card. I think it's going to be awesome. There's going to be some great fights, and it should be a banger. So we'll have the recap video on Sunday too. I got my betting breakdown video coming tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. And so we're going to go over all the different lines, different plays I'm liking. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Make sure to subscribe so you can see all my future videos. And yeah, until I see you guys in the next one, it's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and I'll see y'all. So peace.